movies for black girl nerds.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your time and your talents. This is a marvelous series that dives deep into a lot of different issues and experiences through life that I think a multitude of people can relate to. Beginning with you, Kwame, as season 2 is going to be some further exploration into what has shaped him into the man that he is, where he falls short, where he does well. When you think of David, adult David in his totality, where do you think he falls short, and where can he correct things within himself to, to just kind of heal those things within himself that he's experiencing?
I think that he struggles with trying to fix everything, and without first fixing himself. He thinks that he can fix every problem, and in the sense of trying to fix every problem, he creates more problems. And then he's continuing to try to dig himself out of these holes, but he's digging deeper holes. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think with David is just like understanding that he needs to try to fix himself first before he starts to try to fix everyone else.
For sure. And Akili, along with those things, a lot of what shaped him happened to him as a young man. You're still a young man, but are there instances in your own life where you think of things that you learned or experienced when you were a younger person that has helped you at where you are now, since your character is in the age where he will impact what Kwame's version of David will be?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And to piggyback off what Kwame said, young David in season 1 is trying to find himself and identify himself as a man, as well as, trying to be the man of the house. And he's navigating through, challenging surroundings and environments and challenging relationships. And it's cool to see how he adapts to them, like chameleon, like, what I'm saying, throughout season 1. And you'll see that transfer throughout season 2.
I'm always intrigued when characters are played by people of different ages in their life. It's more intriguing to me because you can get more depth, more performance. When you guys are it's almost like you're working in tandem, since you're portraying the same person, but at different ages. Kwame, beginning with you, and then Akili, the same question. How do you carve the role to make it your own, bring your own performance, but at the same time, you kind of have to find that common thread between the two of you so you can see like a growth of the person? How do you communicate with each other, beginning with you, Kwame?
Just like really like sitting down and talking with each other, and Akili really just kind of like giving me like the backstory of the character, and then also watching the show to bring a lot of the nuances that Akili did in the first season to older David in the second season, but at the same time making sure that he has his own uniqueness in a sense, because when we're younger, or when we get older, we still have certain traits from when we were young, but then we also grow out of certain traits and we evolve, so it's just being able to, like you say, find that balance.
Mm-hmm. And the same for you, Akili. Since you kind of started it instead of it going the other way around, how do you, in your own mind, create that sort of thread or tandem with Kwame to keep that consistency?
And yeah, to go along with Kwame said, you also got to find the similarities and differences between you and the character. You know what I'm saying? So I was just trying to draw how much I related to David when I first established the character of David Young, and how he raised a hardworking single mother just like me. You know what I'm saying? So I just try to put myself in his shoes and imagine, how would I feel throughout these certain scenarios. And to go along with Kwame said, you'll see that throughout season 2. You know what I'm saying? And like he said, you have these certain traits and things that never change about you from when you're young. And then as you get older, you develop things and you lose some stuff. You don't do everything the exact same, but you also could develop some bad traits as well. And you'll see that they go along through that journey with David as well.
Well, gentlemen, I thank you so much for your time. It touched me in so many ways, just a little bit I've seen of this upcoming season, and watch David, traverse between teenagehood and manhood and all the things and that he's experiencing and need to heal from. Bravo to both of you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I thank you for your time. I'm Jeandra LeBeauf, and I'm from Black Girl Nerds, and it's really a pleasure to talk to you about this series. It touches so many layers, familial relationships, trauma, evolution, rebirth. It touches a lot of different things. When you were first crafting what you wanted Gloria to be like, for us to meet, did you have a mantra or a jumping off point for her once you fully read through and got an understanding of what the character was?
Yeah, so basically I was saying that I feel like the most forward thing about Gloria that I really wanted to portray for the audience was sort of kind of inner motto of don't stop, keep going, continue to press forward. I've said, that I feel like Gloria's subconscious motto is ain't nobody got time for that. There's a lot of cards that were dealt to her that were not fair, that were not right. But with the portion of life that she can control, I think she decided that where I can see hope, I'm going to try my hardest to manifest the life that I want.
With those cards that were dealt, oftentimes, just as people in general, we aren't granted the grace to grow beyond what people saw us do, past actions. No space for evolution, especially now in this common era. Is there a space for her to continue to evolve without these past transgressions being caught up with her, or is she going to be allowed that space?
That's an interesting question, because one of the clips that you see for season 1 is her actually saying to her son, for the record, I've been clean for 15 years and you're still holding me to this person that I was, and I understand that it makes sense that you would do that. But what has to be examined throughout the process of David's evolution in season 2 is how much of your identity has now been shaped off of needing me to be the person that I was, so that you feel useful, So it's I think season 2 is a very, very introspective and highly thoughtful journey into systems that we put in place for ourselves for survival that might not serve us in different seasons in our life.
Absolutely. That is a word. That is very true. And so with that, when I was talking to Akili earlier and Kwame, I was talking about them, their portrayals of different ages. And then I also asked about strong character or strong people versus, they have that saying, you always check on the strong friend because they won't check on you. And I thought about David, and I thought about JG, and David's ability to be so independent, and JG's ability to connect with people and seems like more of an attachment with his family. Of the two of them, who do you think Gloria would say would be the stronger of the two of them? The more independent child, or the child that has the ability to stay connected and kind of maintain their roots and know where they're from?
Wow, that is a great question. And it's difficult to answer because I think they have different strengths, and Gloria knows enough about David to know that for a very, very, very long time, David has been saving everybody around him. And just like you said, never really opening himself up to be saved or to say, I need help with this. I think Gloria recognizes that the circumstances around his, young adult development constructed this person who felt like they needed to be there for everybody else and got very used to, for lack of a better word, chaos that needed to be managed and fixed and band-aided, and to the detriment of his own well-being, you know, like many times taking the focus off of himself and pushing forward. You know, maybe that is something that he actually saw his mother model to him, right? I don't really have time to heal from my trauma. I don't really have time to address some of these unresolved issues. I just have to press forward. But as we all know in life, you get to a point where you will have to deal with those things and you won't be able to keep pushing anymore. One day you're going to have to deal with it.
Amen. And that is the truth. Well, I thank you so much for your time. This is a beautiful character. I just love Gloria, just listening to her speak and try to pour love into these young men, trying to just keep that connection and make up for some time where they might not have been able to do it. Thank you so much for your talent, your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Take care. Thank you so much.
Hello, how are you?
From Black Girl Nerds. It's such a pleasure to talk to you. This series was very touching to me, not only just the layers and the things that all of these characters experience, but seeing you all from different age groups and understanding what shapes each person on their journey is always fascinating. I love that type of storytelling. Arlen, beginning with you, there's always a thing that funny, quirky kids kind of have trouble growing out of that when, you know, they're still around adults. You know, if you were the jokester when you were a kid, maybe people don't see you beyond that. Is that a fair assessment for JG as he kind of is trying to create his own life and trajectory, but they still remember what he was like when he was a little boy? Is that a fair assessment?
I think that's a very fair assessment of JG. And it's more JG's doing, I think, than anything else, because he's such a strong personality, strong character, and he is very much I like to say the king of his own world. And so he's always been the king of his own world since younger to older now. So for him, he's very much the same person in that sense, with that mask that he puts on, where it's always all good and, you know, thumbs are always up. So yeah, I think that's a very fair assessment for sure.
Sibling, and for you, Cayden, sibling relationships are complicated in that you have your own relationship with each other, you have your relationship with your parents. Those relationships are different too. What do you think? How would you categorize JG and David's relationship in the age that you're portraying him? Are they close? Are they complicated? Are they typical brothers? How would you describe them to each other?
Oh yeah, they're typical brothers. You know, I mean, they're close. They got each other's back, but you know, they annoy each other. You know, every day they see each other. But you know, they love each other. You know, they have a very close relationship, and they always have each other's back. So yeah, I just say they're typical brothers.
When I look at the way they interact with each other, I think of my own siblings. I'm the youngest sibling. I get it. I can relate to it. And the relationship between the youngest and just siblings, period. It's always different from your parents' point of view, and from your point of view, it may seem like a parent has a favorite, etc. Arlen, for JG, is he the favorite? Do you think he's the favorite child or the not favorite child?
I think JG believes he's the favorite child. And more because of David's independence, JG definitely got a lot more of the motherly, you know, love from his mom. And he also got it from David, you know, because David was almost like his father growing up too. So yes, JG definitely feels like he's the favorite, and probably, like I said, amongst everybody, because JG is very much, like I said, king of his world. So he believes that people are, you know, there for him, especially when he walks into a room. He likes that attention.
Mm-hmm. Cayden, when you are in the version of JG that you're portraying, how do you describe him? Is he is the king of his own kingdom, and we're always the hero in our own story? Do you think he's misunderstood? Do you think they understand him too well? What is his view of the bridge at that age?
I just think, you know, he's very well understood. Everybody in the Ville loves him. He's very fun and guy to be around and very charismatic and loyal. So I think he feels as though he's understood, but at the same time, a little bit misunderstood, if that makes any sense. But I think, he's just himself. That's all I can really say. He's just himself. Yeah.
Among the two of them, Arlen, they have that saying that you always have to check on the strong friends because they won't say that they need help. When I compare David, I'm not sure which of the two of them is a strong friend, because David is so mature and independent, like you mentioned. JG seems to be a little more adjusted and in touch with his environment and the people around him, and being able to create those bonds with people around him. So which of the two of them would be the quote unquote strong friend, the strong personality, do you think?
Honestly, I don't think either one. I think they're both flawed and traumatized in their own special way. They just deal with it differently, because if you catch JG in the right scenario, you might see him with that mask off and really see the parts of him that he hides. David, on the other hand, has very well adjusted himself to wearing those different masks and code switching since he was a very, very young boy. So for him being the older one, he appears to be a little bit more in tune with it, except when he's around his family. And, he's allowed to let his guard down a little bit and kind of more be himself. So I don't think either one of them are the stronger one. If anything, I think they're kind of split down the middle, just depending on the situation that you find them in.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, I thank you. I love this series. I'm always leaned in to pay attention and see what's happening with this family and this collective. I thank you for your time very, very much.
Likewise, thank you.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to speak with you about this series. It is beautiful. It is layered. It is complex. I love seeing from the multi-generational storytelling from their different ages. I just really, really enjoyed that. Tarell, we'll begin with you. For this season, for season 2, the jumping off point to dive deeper into the shaping of these young men and who they are and what is affecting them. Did you have a mantra or a jumping off point that you wanted to further elevate them and allow us as viewers to know them?
Yeah, and thank you so much for your patience. Really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
I know for me, even at the pitch of this series, one of the things we always wanted to talk about was the kind of about trauma specifically, but the ways it shows up, and it can show up in very sneaky, innocuous ways, right? So again, something you're praised for. We were just talking to a football player named Brandon Marshall, who was talking about, getting in the game and how he would have to get his mind into the game. And, it takes a certain kind of energy to run down a field headlong into a person, right? Well, if you think about that in terms of any person, you start off young enough, getting your body and you're ready to be in that place, it gets harder to turn that off, right? And it gets harder to know, hey, I don't need this much aggression in this moment. I don't need this much survival mechanism. I don't need this defense mechanism. I'm okay, right? And so I always talked about what happens when you survive and you do this incredible job of surviving, like so many of us do. And then you get to the other side and people are like, okay, cool, you're here now. Live, relax, have peace, go on vacation, thrive, right? And then they don't. And we often, especially with, at the time of writing this, there were so many questions about why do so many young people have so much anger around them? Why are they becoming adults? And there's, these upticks in domestic violence, why are relationships so tenuous? And I was like, well, because some of us are still fighting 15-year-old battles. And so my mantra was always going just because it helped you survive doesn't mean it helps you live. Mm-hmm. Right? Just because it helps you survive doesn't mean it helps you thrive today. So you might have to re-examine. So we just, we always pitched that we wanted to be able to show those layers as intimately as we could.
I just saw a meme earlier about that. It says something like self-care is sometimes letting go of things that you didn't think you could live without. and that is a form of self-care. And I think that is very present within the series. It's some things you just have to simply let go, whether they're tangible or intangible. And if they don't, they're going to manifest themselves when they get good and ready, no matter what you do. Dee, when you are working closely with Tarell and bringing his vision to life, very, very strong in the direction that he wants to go, how do you think in your role that you collaborate well in executing his vision, staying true, bringing your expertise, and wholly bring the series to life?
I think just to make sure that, I mean, one, it was great that we were, you know, I saw myself also in this character of David. So that was one thing, but also in how putting together this great writing staff, making sure that, and what is great is just in how we're speaking with you, everybody had the same kind of journey in a way, maybe not exactly the same as Tarell's, but a journey in the way that they can see themselves in various characters. So it was just important for me to make sure as we did the, especially going from first season to second season with these older characters, that we did not let go of what, with each character in their youth, how they would be projected to be in their, you know, in their older selves. And then seeing how, especially with older David, how he's not able to let go. And with a lot of us, and, you know, just like Tarell said, regarding vacation, I'm probably out of everyone, I have a very, very hard time with letting go and going on vacation. And this show actually has helped me to think you really do need to do self-care. And for me, I'm like, oh, I had a day, I had 2 days, that is good. But it's really not, considering what we just went through. So I think, and in the pen, and I think everything that we dealt with as a writing staff, that we're able to take those moments, and during the pandemic, it eked its way through in the writing, you know, and it made, I think, a lot of our scripts even deeper in what we were feeling. So Streamlink is proud of what we were able to accomplish in this second season, regarding self-care, mental health. How do you deal with it? What are you feeling? And showing that journey in a very, you know, precise way.
What's most intriguing about their David and JG's respective journeys is, I think, like you mentioned, a lot of people can see both of those archetypes in themselves, where you might have been the independent child, the older child, or you might have been the younger child like JG, where you're more of the people pleaser, both of which can be equally exhausting. But they still can find that common thread of love between the two of them, even when it's not always, you know, the freshest, the nicest. It can be a little tense, as anything is with siblings. Tarell, lastly, with creating an arc for them and for us to know more about them, how do you know this is a stopping point? I'm always intrigued by stories like that. Where do you know this is just enough that we want to cover through this many episodes with them? Like what is enough, do you feel?
Well, the reason why it's a series is because it's never too much, as Luther said, right? Like I do know that, like, this is one chapter, right? This is a chapter I want to talk about. I want to talk about when you get to a place of people thinking success is made, and how there's still lingering questions there, for sure. But there's so much in the journey left, right? Even after season 2, that's one of the reasons why season 2 was so exciting, because it starts pointing to where healing begins, but there's a long road ahead, right? And we get there in some funny, interesting, sometimes heartbreaking ways. But when we get there, we go, oh shit, excuse my language. You know what I mean? We're not gonna, this isn't where the road ends. It just turns, right? It just goes in a different way. And so we're excited. That was exciting to me, because I hope people step away, because when I walk away from the episodes, I go, oh, I got to chew on that and think about that in terms of what's next. And to me, that's how I know that segment is enough for us. But it's also, it gives us places to go, and it also gives us conversation to have once the credits come down and you see, MBJ, Oprah, and Warner Brothers, you're also going, okay, well, how am I going to deal with this in my house in Main Street or in Liberty City or in Chicago or in San Francisco, you know?
Mm-hmm. I am in Inglewood, and I'm going to make my siblings watch this with my mom, because we have some of these very similar debates about favoritism and the preferred child. And I think there's some wonderful layered conversations that we can have out of watching these episodes. Thank you so much for this series and your time. It is marvelous. I can't wait for people to see it so we can start talking about the episodes and social media. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
See you soon.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerds. Better shake your booties for black girl nerds.